Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Rundown with the Cowboy Crab. I'm the Cowboy Crab, and today on the Rundown, it is halfway through Season 35, so you know what that means. It is return of the mid-season power rankings. This year, of course, we have 30 teams instead of last season's 34 teams, of course, being with the Survivor Bowl and whatnot. And teams being removed, of course, but it does not stop the power rankings. So, how the power rankings work is I went into the league sheet, went by the updated current standings, and sorted it based off of my opinion, based off records and every statistic, something like that. So, we will officially begin the power rankings at number 30, being the Bucks. 0-3. That's the first thing. There are a few 0-3 teams in the league, but that's not the big thing. Point differential of negative 113 puts them in dead last. How does that happen? That's the only reason why they're number 30, by the way. That is a huge negative point differential. Number 29 is the Spartans. Also, currently 0-3. And a negative 88 point differential is why they're here. I mean, it's not that bad. It was last for a little bit, and then I kind of saw how the Bucks was, and was like, no, that's way worse. 28 is the Toros. Same thing for them, except slightly better. Negative 85 point differential. 0-3 though, so 28th. 27th is the Bruisers, also 0-3. They share the same division as the Toros. But in the standings, the Toros are better than the Bruisers. But I gave them a little bit of a boost here in the power rankings for some of the things that I thought were better. Moving on, though, number 26, the Destroyers, the first Eastern Conference team on the list here, as they also 0-3, the only 0-3 team in the Atlantic Division. Good for them. And negative 66 point differential. Not good. 25 is the Ducks. Probably the best winless team right now. A negative 11 point differential, which is the best out of all these teams. But everything else, still a losing team. Number 24 is the Dragons, and I spoke to, Ducks best in the Western Conference. Eastern Conference is the Dragons. Only 0-3 team in the Central Division. 0-3, negative 9 point differential, so single digits right there. Number 23 is the Warriors. Now, I know the Twisters just played them, but with everything I had taken into consideration, there were a lot of 1-2 teams. But they had the worst point differential at negative 45, so that's why they ended up in the spot that they did. Don't say it's because of bias. Anyways, moving on from the Warriors. Number 22 is the Bolts. By far, in my opinion, the worst team in the best division in the entire OFL, the Gulf Division of the Eastern Conference. Everybody except for the Bolts is 2-1 right now. That division is wide open. But the Bolts, negative 23 point differential, 1-2 record. So they're the worst in the best division. They can hang their hats on that. Number 21 is the Punishers, and negative 37 point differential. That loss against the Raptors does not help them whatsoever. Number 20 being the Snowhawks, also in the Atlantic Division. They have the better point differential, negative 20, so above the Punishers in the standings and the power rankings. Number 19 is the Canton Greats. Negative 4 point differential with a 1-2 record. So, good for them. Number 18 is the Sunbirds. This is where the first positive point differential, a 20 point differential, but they are 1-2 and are 0-2 in conference play. Number 27, the Sky Kings. Similar situation. In fact, both had a 20 point differential, so it really came down to some other statistics. But the Sky Kings overall having a better defensive per game, better defensive points per game, and better SOS, which is Well, mainly defensive is why I gave it to them. And honestly, you could switch those two out if you wanted to. Meanwhile, number 17, you get the Huskies, the first 2-1 team, and a point differential of 5. That is by far the lowest here when you get into this point, because now these are winning record teams. Of course, any of these are interchangeable. These are based off what I've gathered, though. Number 15 being the Phoenix. They have a 14-point differential, playing in the best division, of course, as I've already said. But, yeah, that point differential, I mean, they're in the top 15 at least, with a 2-1 record. Number 14 is the Rattlers. And for the Rattlers, it was a toss-up between them and the Phoenix, once again here, so interchangeable, but it's kind of no play in conference play didn't really play a factor, but at the same time it kind of did. But moving on though, number 13 is the Aztecs. The Aztecs, number 13, for a while, they were undefeated in a while, and making the Plains division very interesting by getting that first loss and a 15-point differential. Not great, it does drop them in a little bit of where I kind of thought that internally where they would be. But still doing pretty good, though. Number 12 is the Firecats, currently, based off the standings, the number 1 seed in the Gulf Division, 2-1, 18-point differential. And yes, about it for them. Number 11, just missing out on the top 10, is the Rams. Now, I know some interesting stuff has went down for them recently. Don't have all the information at the time to talk about it, but yeah, it was very interesting, so we'll see how it goes for them for the rest of the season. But in the power rankings-wise, 11th, 2-1 record, and a 21-point differential. And this is where the fun begins, folks. Coming in at number 10, representing, out. There we go. I'm making up this on the fly here. So, let me try again. Out of the Gulf Division, at number 10 is the DC Knights, 2-1 record, and a 26-point differential. A very, very good team here for DC. That trade for, I think they were part of the rally trade, if I remember correctly. But, yeah, so, DC making it into the top 10. Number 9, also out of the Gulf Division, is the Roblox Panthers. 2-1 with a 31-point differential. The only reason that they're 4th in the standings is because that one loss was a divisional loss. Moving on, though, number 8. Out of the Central Division, the Philadelphia Freedom. They made the Survivor Bowl last year. They barely beat the Invaders, and now they're 2-1 and making the top 10 in the power rankings with a 36-point differential. Coming in at number 7, King of Light, I hope you're listening. Out of the Atlantic Division, the Rockford Raptors with currently 2-1 and a 45-point differential. That win against the Punishers really helped them here, as they are second place right now. And Empire State might be watching their back just a little bit here. Speaking of Empire State, to begin the undefeated teams, at number 6, out of the Atlantic Division, the Empire State Sentinels. The first undefeated team, but the only undefeated team with a single-digit point differential at 9. Very interesting. Coming in at number 5, we are now in the top 5. Out of the Central Division, the Toronto Bears, 3-0 right now, a 33-point differential, and right now looking like they run the Central Division. The Huskies, the only team the Huskies and Freedom on their tail, but not exactly looking fantastic for them. Alright, well, moving on here. Coming in at number 4, out of the Mountain Division, you have the Justin Jackrabbits, undefeated, with a 42-point differential and running the Mountain Division right now. The only team currently in contention with them being the Rexshire Rattlers. And now we have officially entered the top 3. Coming in at number 3, you kind of already see them. I'm kind of representing them the whole time. Number 3, the Oklahoma City Twisters, 3-0, 65-point differential. Now, this is maybe a potential controversial team here. I've said on multiple occasions on the Oklahoma City Sports Network that this team is a offensive juggernaut. Especially after week 3, I will go on and say this is an offensive juggernaut unit. Their defense is definitely the weakest point, and I have made that very clear here. But top 3 is nothing to be disappointed about at the midseason power rankings. Coming in at number 2, out of the Plains Division, the Blue Steel City Vikings, just beating out the Oklahoma City Twisters by a point differential of 66 compared to the Twisters 65. That Week 6 matchup, if both of these teams keep on the pace they're going, is going to be the fight for the Plains Division number 1 seed and potentially 1 seed in the Western Conference in general. But the number 1 team has something different to say about that. Coming in at number 1, out of the Pacific Division, you have the Red Cliff Raiders for one reason and one reason only. It's not their undefeated record. They had several others. The 92-point differential. That is the highest positive point differential I think I've ever seen. And the miracle thing is you had the lowest in the negative 113 for the Bucks and the highest in the 92 for the Raiders. So, just for a quick little recap, here is the top 10 for the midseason. Some power rankings. You have the Knights, the Panthers, Freedom, Raptors, Sentinels, Bears, Jackrabbits, Twisters, Vikings, and Raiders making up the top 10. But also, we have one more thing to mention here before we officially sign off. Ladies and gentlemen, we're halfway through the season, so you know what officially starts this week. Disregarding the schedule. Ladies and gentlemen, we have entered Tank Bowl season! Roll out the tanks, baby! Because it's Tank Bowl time. Remember, the rules of the Tank Bowl are very simple. Both teams have a losing record. It automatically qualifies as a Tank Bowl. We are past the halfway point of the season. Week 4, 5, and 6 will have Tank Bowl matchups as long as they're on the schedule. But Tank Bowl matchups should be coming soon to a OFL Twitch streamer near you. But outside of that, I am the Cowboy Crab. And this was the Midseason Power Rankings edition of the Rundown. And I'll see you on the next one. Goodbye, everybody.